Are you a parent who's concerned about what your child might be able to look at on the internet? Well, the UK government is looking at bringing in legislation to block internet pornography at its source. But there are those who are against the idea, including local IT consultant in child protection, Nathan Wright. Good morning to you. What exactly does this mean, blocking pornography at source?
Chris, hi, good morning. Obviously, every parent is concerned about trying to keep their children safe online and making sure that what they're seeing is appropriate for their age. Now, there are many solutions available which enable parents to do this. The one, for example, is Cyberminder, that allows parents to keep their children from seeing things that are inappropriate. But what the UK government's trying to do is to bring in a solution that is a one-size-fits-all. So in the same way that cinemas protect children from seeing films that are inappropriate for them, they're trying to do the same with the internet. Now, on paper that all sounds very, very good, but the reality is if you have a family and you have a 7-year-old who is now accessing the internet and you have a teenager who's also accessing the internet, what you're going to have to do as a parent is set the restrictions for the lowest common denominator, which is the 7-year-old, which just doesn't work for the teenager. You're suddenly going to find the teenager very much against and loathing the fact that you've put this protection in. So it just doesn't work. The solution doesn't fit the problem. What's also interesting is that Ed Varsey, the cultural minister in the UK, a month ago in November said they weren't going to put this protection in place because it was the responsibility of the parents to ensure what their children do online and what they see. Because children are different. What might be right for one child would be inappropriate for another child, and the responsibility has to be with the parents.
But we're talking about pornography here, which surely is something that no child should be exposed to. Isn't it right by a responsible government to say, we don't want our children seeing this, we're going to stop it?
Okay. Yes, in an ideal world that would be the case if you knew where all the pornographic sites were. And who's actually going to decide what's pornographic and what's not? There still is no real definition of what is pornography and what isn't in the UK or anywhere else in the world. It's a very vague sort of area. And what they're talking about is legal pornography. So what you're going to have to do as an adult is actually go and ask your internet service provider to open up the restrictions. It's going to be an opt-in situation. And then you're going to have the problem that certain ISPs will do it, certain ISPs won't do it. So you're going to create a them and us type situation. What's also more interesting is that in November, when initially the culture minister said they weren't going to do this, he was very specific, saying this is down to the parent to decide. It's not for the government to force people into this situation, because there are solutions out there. There are ways parents can do this. But then we had the issue with WikiLeaks come about, and all of a sudden there's been a change in opinion in the government. And what people don't realise is that once this blocking system is in place, the government can decide what we can and can't see as adults. So all of a sudden freedom of the press goes out the window. We've seen what happens in China when you start blocking what people see. Turkey, some years ago, tried to block YouTube because there were YouTube videos that weren't very nice about the Turkish government. So the Turkish government blocked these videos, which caused a complete uproar. There would be nothing stopping the UK government from doing exactly the same thing. If there was something they didn't want us to hear or to see, they could block it at the flick of a switch, and there'd be nobody able to stop that from happening. So there's a real mix of opinion. Whilst all people are keen to make sure that children are safe, there's definitely a view that it's the wrong way to do it, and this is being taken worldwide. This isn't just a UK problem, it's a worldwide issue.
So how exactly would it work? We've heard the phrase to block something at source, but surely if a website, a pornographic website, is putting stuff out on the internet, how can that be stopped?
Well, somebody has to sit and filter it all. And that's the big problem. When you think the estimations are that there's 250,000 new pornographic websites every month being added to the internet, and we don't. These are only the ones that the researchers know about. There's a lot more that aren't within the public area. So there are solutions out there that help parents to minimise this. And really, the one-size-fits-all doesn't work. It's just not a solution that can work. What we're also talking about is this is legal adult content. So let's not think this has anything to do with child pornography. That's a completely separate issue. This is legal adult content. So, for example, you're going to have the legitimate websites, the sort of Ann Summers of this world and companies like that, who are going to suddenly say, hold on a minute, you're stopping our business by blocking sites like ours. And there's been publications that have been around for many, many years that are of an adult nature, and all of those would suddenly potentially be blocked off. And also what they're not saying is exactly who will decide what is and isn't appropriate. So you could have somebody looking at something that they may feel is inappropriate, but you or I might think, actually, that's not inappropriate for us as adults. So really, it's not a solution that's specifically just for children.
So if this is something which the UK government is going to do, block pornography at source, does that apply simply to UK-based sites? I mean, if there was an American pornographic site, will people still be able to access that, for example?
No, they would be looking at blocking sites all over the world. And this is why I say it's just a mammoth task. There are public domain solutions out there now today, where communities work together, where adults work together to actually list and protect different sites and say these sites aren't appropriate, and they categorise them. That's a far better way of doing this, which is how products like Cyberminder provide the service to ensure that the children are being safe.
So there are things that parents can do. If I was a parent now worried
Yes.
that my child might be using the time on the internet to look at things which are completely unsuitable,
Yeah.
short of switching the computer off, what can I
Yes.
do about it?
That's the total solution. If people say to me, is there a 100% solution? There is. You unplug the internet. That is the only 100% solution. The key to all of this, and the child protection agencies talk about all the time, is it's all about communication and education and using solutions out there that enable parents to control what their children are seeing. What parents find very difficult is that they're often non-technical. So parents think, oh gosh, the child knows more about me, more about the internet than I do. And there are products out there, as I've talked about. Cyberminder is one I highly recommend, which helps people to keep their child safe using a key-based system. We're all used to a front door key. Well, this is an internet key that enables parents to plug in a key and control what their children are seeing and doing online in a very easy-to-use way.
That's not a bad idea. Thank you very much for talking to us about that. It's going to be interesting to see if the UK government does bring this legislation in. That's a local IT consultant in child protection, Nathan Wright.